By the year 326 AD, the Roman Empire had undergone a massive religious realignment. Christianity, a faith hunted in the shadows for centuries, was now the official religion of Emperor Constantine. But this newly legitimized faith faced a glaring physical absence. The actual geographical locations of its founding events were completely missing from the map. Nearly 3 centuries earlier, Roman authorities had executed a deliberate cover-up. To stop early pilgrims from gathering at the site of the crucifixion, they buried Golgotha beneath tons of earth. On top of that newly leveled ground, they constructed a massive temple dedicated to the goddess Venus, sealing the original topography beneath heavy masonry. While the empire's political stance had shifted toward the new religion, the physical proof of that religion remained trapped and suppressed deep beneath the soil. Enter Empress Helena, Constantine's mother. At nearly 80 years old, she left the luxury of the imperial palace and traveled to the dusty, ancient territory of Jerusalem. Armed with immense political authority and personal resolve, she issued a sweeping royal decree. The Temple of Venus was to be completely torn down. Guided by local residents who had passed down whispered traditions about the true location, she ordered her workers to strip away centuries of pagan masonry and dig straight down to the bedrock. Workers dragged massive blocks of stone out of the way, laboring through thick dust and heat to scrape out the heavy, damp earth beneath the foundations. This was a physical undoing of 3 centuries of Roman construction, stripping away the pagan surface to expose the site's original Christian identity. Deep beneath the foundations, the excavation grew tense. Laborers drove iron shovels further into the dark, heavy soil, clearing the last layers of rubble. Suddenly, a worker's tool struck something hard. The earth gave way with a hollow clank, revealing an ancient, buried cistern hidden far below the surface. From the shadows of that pit, workers carefully extracted a collection of earth-stained artifacts. They pulled out iron nails, a wooden inscription board, and the half-rotted remains of 3 separate wooden crosses. The presence of 3 distinct crosses alongside the titulus, or inscription board, mirrored the specific details of the 3 men crucified on Golgotha. The excavation had hit the exact target described in the Gospels. They had found the artifacts, but they had no way to tell them apart. Because 3 men were executed together, the excavation yielded 3 identical crosses. Centuries of decay made it impossible to use forensic logic. No amount of human observation could distinguish which timber belonged to the Savior. Recognizing this limitation, Bishop Macarius of Jerusalem intervened, arguing human wisdom had reached a dead end. He turned to the city's residents, bringing forward a noblewoman suffering from a fierce illness. If one of these beams possessed the divine power of the Savior, her physical reaction to the wood would reveal the truth. To identify a sacred relic from identical decoys, the investigation had to pivot away from archaeology and rely on a supernatural sign. Inside a hushed imperial courtyard, the dying, feverish woman was laid gently on a pallet in front of the 3 unearthed timbers. Macarius lifted a fragment of the first cross and placed it across her chest. Seconds ticked by in silence. There was no physical change. He moved to the second cross and laid it upon her. Again, nothing. Her breathing remained shallow, and her skin continued to burn with fever. The entire mission now depended on the final beam. Finally, the bishop lifted a piece of the 3rd and final cross, bringing it down over the woman. Instantly, her eyes snapped open. The ashen tint vanished from her skin, replaced by a warm flush of color, and she sat up, entirely healed. This immediate physical restoration provided the exact proof they needed. The recovery transformed a buried tradition into a tangible reality. At dawn, Helena, Macarius, and a massive crowd paraded the authenticated timber in victory through the streets. Helena strategically divided the wood. She sent portions to her son in his new capital of Constantinople and left a fragment behind in Jerusalem. This single event ignited a worldwide obsession with physical artifacts. Over the centuries, ornate gold reliquaries were crafted to house fragments of the sacred wood. The desire to be near these authenticated fragments shaped medieval architecture, drove entire economies, and established global pilgrimage routes that still draw massive crowds today. By tearing down the pagan erasure and demanding proof, Helena provided the physical anchor that secured her faith directly into the bedrock of history.